Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, please subscribe. I'd really love that. If you're returning, how you doing? What we're going to be talking about today is something that is something you would only see in like movies or TV show, honestly. But this is something that I think we should be concerned about. Warmer temperatures, okay, especially in the Arctic, are thawing the region's permafrost. And the permafrost is a frozen layer of soil beneath the ground. And it is potentially stirring viruses that, after lying dormant for tens of thousands of years, could endanger animal and human health. All right. So that's why I said we should be concerned about this. So while a pandemic unleashed a disease from the distant past sounds like a plot to, like, The Walking Dead. Let's just say that. Scientists are warning that the risks, though low, are underappreciated. Now, chemical and radioactive waste that dates back to like the Cold War, which has the potential to harm wildlife and disrupt ecosystems, may also be released during thaws. So permafrost, it actually covers about a fifth of the northern hemisphere, having underpinned the Arctic tundra and boreal forest of Alaska, Canada, and Russia for like a millennia. And it serves as a kind of like time capsule, preserving, in addition to ancient viruses, the mummified remains of a number of extinct animals that scientists have been able to unearth and study in recent years include 2 cave lion cubs and a woolly rhino. So the reason permafrost is a good storage medium isn't just because it's cold. It's oxygen-free environment that doesn't penetrate, but light doesn't penetrate. But current day Arctic temperatures are warming up to 4 times faster than the rest of the planet, which is weakening the top layer of permafrost in that region. So something is about to get unleashed, and this is really bad. Yeah. So there is a professor of medicine, and his name is Jean-Michel Claverie. I don't know if I said that correct. And he's in search of what he describes as a zombie virus, and he actually found it. Now, he studies a particular type of virus that he first discovered in 2003, known as giant viruses that are much bigger than the typical variety and visible under regular light microscope rather than a more powerful electron microscope, which makes them a good model for this type of lab work. His efforts to detect viruses frozen in permafrost were partly inspired by a team of scientists who in 2012 revived a wild flower from 30,000-year-old seed tissue that were found in a squirrel's burrow. That's so amazing to think that that could actually be done. Now, in 2014, this scientist, he managed to revive a virus he and his team isolated from the permafrost, making it infectious for the first time in 30 years by inserting it into cultured cells. And for safety, he'd chosen to study a virus that could only target single-cell amoebas, not animals or humans. And he repeated the feat in 2015, isolating a different type of virus that could also target amoebas. And in his latest research, he published on February 18th in the Journal of Viruses, he and his team isolated several strains of this ancient virus from multiple samples of permafrost taken from seven different places across Siberia, and showed that they could each infect cultured amoeba cells. Now, those latest strains represent 5 new families of viruses on top of the 2 that he already revived previously. And the oldest was almost 48,500 years old based on radiocarbon dating of the soil, and came from a sample of earth taken from an underground lake 16 meters or 52 feet below the surface. Now, the youngest samples found in the stomach contents of a coat of a woolly mammoth's remains were 27,000 years old. This is just so amazing that this is actually done. But I have true concerns about this, because if it gets into the hands of the wrong people, you know what I mean. So that amoeba infecting virus, they are still infectious after so long, is indicative of potential like bigger problems. Now, the scientist, he fears people regard his research as a scientific curiosity, and they don't perceive the prospect of ancient viruses coming back to life as a serious public health threat. I think that they're a serious public health threat, especially being in the hands of the wrong people. And so he said, we view these amoeba infecting viruses as surrogates for all other possible viruses that might be in the permafrost. We see the traces of many, many, many other viruses, so we know that they are. And we don't know for sure that they are still alive, but our reasoning is that if the amoeba viruses are still alive, there is no reason why these other viruses will not still be alive and capable of infecting other hosts. So traces of these viruses and these bacteria can actually infect humans and can be found preserved in permafrost. A lung sample from a woman's body that was exhumed in 1997 from permafrost, in a village on the Seward Peninsula of Alaska. It actually contained genomic material from the influenza strain responsible for the 1918 pandemic. And in 2012, scientists confirmed the 300-year-old mummified remains of a woman that was buried in Siberia, and it contained the genetic signatures of the virus that caused smallpox. So there's so many things that can be, done here. Here's another one: the anthrax outbreak in Siberia that affected dozens of humans and more than 2,000 reindeer between July and August of 2016. It was also it could also be linked to the deeper thawing of the permafrost during exceptionally hot summers, allowing old spores of Bacillus Anthracis to resurface from old burial grounds of animal carcasses. So just think, if those carcasses are not buried deep enough into the ground, it can resurface. How crazy is that? So there's just so many things that are possible here. And if there is a virus that is hidden in the permafrost that has not been in contact for thousands of years, it might be that our immune defense is not sufficient. It is correct to have respect for the situation and be proactive and not just reactive. And the way to fight fear is to have knowledge. And I've always said that knowledge is power. So of course, in the real world, scientists don't know how long these viruses could remain infectious once exposed to present day conditions. or how likely the virus would be to encounter a suitable host. Not all viruses are pathogens that can cause disease. Some are benign and even beneficial to their hosts. And while it is home to 3.6 million people, the Arctic is still a sparsely populated place, and making the risk of human exposure to ancient viruses very low. But still, the risk is bound to increase in the context of global warming, in which permafrost, which is thawing, will keep accelerating, and more people will populate the Arctic in the wake of industrial ventures. So there's a lot to still study here. There's a lot that still has to be what's the word I'm looking for? You know, it's just, but if this were to ever get out, game over, you know. I mean, that this is some scary thing. And plus, if this were to get into the wrong hands, like these elitists, the WEF, Billy Boy, I'm telling you, game over. Because you know that they would find a way for these single cell amoebas to somehow get into the puppy. I don't know how, but because I'm not that knowledgeable when it comes to science, but I'm telling you, there's a way. Where there's a will, there's a way, especially with these bastards. All right guys, I'll see you in the next one. Okay, you stay safe, you stay positive, you keep prepping, and as always, fearless. Ciao.